Hello everybody, and thanks for joining me in today's edition of the Daf Yomi. The main discussion on today's Daf is Makkos 5b, and it centers on the complex laws of witnesses being proven conspirators. The principle of only the first set of conspiratorial witnesses being executed. Key points of the Daf. The dispute between Rabbi Yehuda and the rabbis. The Gemara delves into a Mishnah which presents a disagreement regarding the execution of Eid and Zomamim, conspiring witnesses. Rabbi Yehuda maintains that only the first set of witnesses who are declared conspirators by a subsequent set are executed, even if the subsequent set is later proven to be conspiratorial as well. The rabbis disagree and hold that any set of witnesses proven false is executed. The issue of original conspiracy is tatis. A significant difficulty is raised. If the situation involves a premeditated conspiracy and its tatis, why should even the first set be executed, as the entire scenario is suspicious? The Gemara through Rabbi Abahu resolves this by explaining that Rabbi Yehuda's ruling applies specifically where the judges already executed the first case of witnesses based on their testimony in the capital case, before the second set came to refute them. Defining the scope of execution, the Gemara further explores the principle of only the first set, Bilvan, mentioned by Rabbi Yehuda, with Rava attempting to explain that it refers to a case where only one set of Eid where there's only one set of Eid involved. This interpretation is challenged by the language of the Mishnah. So let's dive straight into the text. The Gemara asks, if Rabbi Yehuda states that this situation is a conspiracy, and there is suspicion that the second set is not truthful, let even the first set of witnesses who were rendered conspiring witnesses based on the testimony also not be executed. Rabbi Abahu said, the Mishnah is referring to a case where the judges already executed the first set of witnesses. Rabbi Yehuda is saying that no witnesses are executed other than the first set of witnesses who are already executed. The Gemara challenges, if so, what already was, there's no point in stating it as a halacha. Rather, Rava said that this is what Rabbi Yehuda is saying. If it is only one set of witnesses that is rendered conspiring witnesses by the second set, the witnesses are executed, and there is more than one set that they are not executed at all. The Gemara asks, but doesn't Rabbi Yehuda say it is only the first set alone that is executed? This indicates that, contrary to Rava's explanation, it is a case involving more than one set of witnesses. The Gemara notes, indeed this matter is difficult. Apropos the dispute in the Mishnah, the Gemara lays, there was a certain woman who brought witnesses to testify on her behalf, and they were proven to be liars. She brought other witnesses, and they were too proven to be liars. She went and brought other witnesses who were not proven to be liars. There was Amalek dispute whether the testimony of the third set of witnesses is accepted. Vashlaka said, this woman has assumed the presumptive status of dishonesty because of her repeated reliance on false witnesses. Therefore, the testimony of the third set is rejected. Rabbi Elazar said to him, if she's assumed the presumptive state of dishonesty, how do Jewish people assume that presumptive status? Why assume that these witnesses are dishonest? Let's see in the footnote. If an individual brought witnesses and the testimony was contradicted, and then brought other witnesses whose testimony was also contradicted, and he continued to bring witnesses whose testimony was contradicted, until he finally brought witnesses whose testimony is not contradicted, the testimony is accepted, and one does not say it is evident that all witnesses he solicits are false witnesses. Even if he assumed the presumptive state of dishonesty, that does not mean the entire Jewish people has assumed that presumptive status, as stated by Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar. On the Sefer Shoftim, held at Eidut 22:5, Shulchan Aruch Choshen Mishpat 31:4. The Gemara relates, on another occasion, Reish Lakish and Rabbi Elazar were sitting before Rabbi Yochanan, and an incident similar to this one came before them for judgment. Reish Lakish said, this woman has assumed the presumptive status of dishonesty. Rabbi Yochanan said to him, if she has assumed the presumptive status of dishonesty, as in entire Jewish people assume that presumptive status, Lakish heard that Rabbi Yochanan responded in a manner identical to the early response of Rabbi Elazar. He turned his head and glared angrily at Rabbi Elazar, and said to him, you heard this matter from Bar Napcha. In several places in the Babylonian Talmud and more frequently in the Jerusalem Talmud, Rabbi Yochanan is called Bar Napta. Little is known about Rabbi Yochanan's family, as he was orphaned at a young age. Nevertheless, some attribute this appellation, which means son of a blacksmith, to his father's occupation. Others, see Rashi on Sanhedrin 96a, explain that he was given this name due to his renowned beauty. To avoid endangering his beauty by mentioning it, they chose an appellation that represents the opposite of beauty, since blacksmiths are perpetually covered in soot. Alternatively, it alludes to his craftsmanship in Torah, Avodah Zarah 50b. I, Rabbi Yochanan, and you did not say it to me in his name. Had I known that you were stating Rabbi Yochanan's opinion, I would have accepted it. The Gemara suggests, let us say that Reish Lakish stated his opinion that this woman has assumed the presumptive state of dishonesty in accordance to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. We invalidate the testimony of witnesses based on suspicion that arises due to circumstances, even though there is no proof that they lied. And Rabbi Yochanan stated his opinion in accordance with the opinion of the rabbis, who do not invalidate testimony based on substantiated suspicion. The Gemara rejects this suggestion. Reish Lakish could say to you, I say my opinion even according to the opinion of the rabbis, as the rabbis say that one relies on witnesses who render multiple sets of witnesses, conspiring witnesses only there in the Mishnah, in a case where there is no one who is seeking to hire witnesses to testify on his behalf. And one could assert that the testimony is true. But here there is this woman who is seeking to hire witnesses to testify on her behalf, which arouses suspicion that she hired them to lie on her behalf. And Rabbi Yochanan could say to you, I say my opinion even according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, as Rabbi Yehuda says that the testimony of the second set is invalid based on unsubstantiated suspicion only there in the Mishnah, where circumstances exacerbate the suspicion that they are lying. As we say, is that to say that everyone, the numerous sets of witnesses were standing near these witnesses who testify in order to render them conspiring witnesses? But here perhaps these witnesses who came last and were not proven to be liars know the content of the testimony, and these witnesses who are proven to be liars do not know the content of the testimony. The fact that the testimony of the first set of witnesses was rendered void has no bearing on the status of other witnesses. The Mishnah. The conspiring witnesses are executed only if they are rendered conspiring witnesses after the verdict of the accused is concluded. Asher yigamer hadin. Conspiring witnesses are executed only if the court delivers a verdict based on the testimony. Rambam Sefer Shoftim Hilchot Eidah 21 to Mitzvah 38. This is in contrast to the opinion of the Sadducees. As the Sadducees say, conspiring witnesses are executed only if they are rendered conspiring witnesses after the accused is killed on the basis of the testimony, as it is stated a life for life in Exodus 21:23 and see Deuteronomy 19:21. The rabbi said to the Sadducees, but wasn't it already stated, and you shall do to him as he conspired to do to his brother, in Deuteronomy 19:19, and this last verse indicates that his accused brother is alive. V'harei achiv kayam. Some understand that the term in the verse to his brother indicates that the reference to it is to a living person, and this appears to be Rashi's understanding. By contrast, the Ritva explains that the term brother would be appropriate even if the accused had been executed, as all Jews, living or dead, are considered brothers. Instead, proof is from the phrase as he conspired, from which it is inferred, but not as he succeeded in doing. And if so, why is state a life for life? One might have thought that if they are rendered conspiring witnesses from the moment the judges accepted the testimony in court, they will be executed, even though no verdict was concluded. Therefore, the verse states a life for life, teaching that they are executed only if they are rendered conspiring witnesses after the verdict of the accused will be concluded, in the moment that the court is on the verge of taking his life. Gemara, Tane B'Ribi Omer. It is taught with regard to the halacha in the Mishnah that a sage referred to as the distinguished Beribi. What's that mean? Beribi, this appellation Beribi or Berabi is a contraction for Ben Rabbi, meaning son of Rabbi. Already during the Tanaic era, this term was used as a honorific for a distinguished Torah scholar who was significant in his generation. According to this understanding of the term, it can be explained to mean son of the prominent or son of sages. This appellation was employed whether the father of the sage in question was actually prominent, e.g. Rabbi Yeshaya Beribi, who was the son of Rabbi Hamabar Rabbi Bisa, or whether his father was not prominent. Later sages are simply called Berabi, an honorific without a name. With few exceptions, when the term Berabi appears after the name of one sage and is followed by the name of another sage, the term means son of the latter stage. When it appears after the name of a sage, but it is not followed by the name of another sage, it is a reference to the prominence of that sage. It says, if the conspiring witnesses have not yet been killed, and not yet killed the accused with their testimony, they are executed, but if they kill the accused of testimony, they are not executed. So let's explain that. Hagu ein nehagagin. If they killed without testimony, they are not killed. The Rambam indicates that halacha applies only in cases where the testimony leads to execution of the accused. But if the testimony led to the accused paying or receiving lashes, they are still liable for punishment, although the others disagree with regard to lashes. 7 explanations were suggested for this halacha. The Rambam writes that it is learned through tradition. Others infer it from the language of the phrase in the verse, as he conspired to do to his brother, which is derived that his brother is alive. See the Meiri in the Radbaz. The Meiri presents an explanation citing the Gaonim. Since they sinned in an intentional and premeditated manner, and not as an angry outburst, and they are guilty of both false testimony and murder, their punishment is too great to atone by an earthly court, and only a heavenly court can appropriately punish them. See a similar explanation in the case of Mishnah. The Meiri himself says that since the court has already taken action and executed the accused, one does not undermine its action. Trying the case would undermine the authority of the court in all areas. The Rambam's commentary on the Torah says that based on the verse, God is present in the assembly of the Lord in Psalms 82:1, it is evident that the court receives heavenly guidance to reach a just verdict. If the court has already implemented its verdict, presumably the accused deserved his fate. If the accused was executed by the court and the witnesses were then rendered conspiring witnesses, they are not executed. If the accused was flogged based on the testimony, they are flogged, and if the accused made a monetary payment based on the testimony, they must reimburse him. Some commentators disagree and hold that if the accused was flogged, the conspiring witnesses are not flogged, and that's from the Rambam say for Shoftim with 8:22 and the Raven and Sikhet of Mishnah there. The father of that sage, who was also a prominent sage, said to him, "My son, is this matter not derived through an a fortiori inference? If, when they were unsuccessful in their attempt to kill the accused, they are executed, or the more so if they were successful in killing him, they should be executed." He said to his father, "You have taught us, our teacher, that one does not administer punishment based on a fortiori inference. Ein onshin minhadin. One does not administer punishment based on a fortiori inference. Even though a fortiori inference is one of the hermeneutic principles through which the Torah is interpreted, and it is a logical inference, one does not rely on that inference to administer corporal punishment. Some commentaries explain that the rationale for this principle, assuming that it is not merely a Torah edict, and it has a rationale, is that there is always a possibility that a fortiori inference will be refused in halakhic olam. Penalty due to the principle governing a fortiori inferences. It is sufficient for the conclusion that a murder from a fortiori inference is like to be like its source, because the source is more lenient than the result. A sinner who violated a severe prohibition would receive a less severe punishment. Since the punishments are determined for the sinner, if the severe offender receives a less severe punishment, he will not have gained atonement for his sin, and that's from the Marashah. The punishment must be stated in the Torah, as it is taught in a Brayta that among the relatives with whom engaging in intercourse is forbidden, it states, a man who takes his sister, the daughter of his father, or the daughter of his mother, Leviticus 2017, I derive only the daughter of his father, who is not the daughter of his mother, or the daughter of his mother, who is not the daughter of his father, from where is it derived that one is liable for engaging in intercourse with his sister, who is both the daughter of his mother and the daughter of his father? It is derived from a verse, as the verse states, he has uncovered the nakedness of his sister in Leviticus 2017, indicating that one is liable for engaging in intercourse with any sister. The Brayta continues, even if the verse had not stated that one is liable for engaging in intercourse with his sister, I have one sister with whom he has both parents in common. I have proof from a fortiori inference. If the Torah punishes an individual for engaging in intercourse with the daughter of his father, who is not the daughter of his mother, or engaging in intercourse with the daughter of his mother, who is not the daughter of his father, it is not all the more so clear that he should be punished for engaging in intercourse with a sister who is both the daughter of his father and the daughter of his mother. From the fact that the Torah explicitly prohibited intercourse in that case, and did not rely on the inference, you learn that one does not administer punishment based on a fortiori inference. The verse continues, we heard from that verse in Leviticus 2017, a punishment for engaging in intercourse with one sister with whom he has both parents is common. From where is the prohibition against engaging in those acts of intercourse derived? It's derived from a verse. As the verse states, the nakedness of your sister, the daughter of your father, or the daughter of your mother, you shall not uncover. Leviticus 19:89. I have derived the prohibition against engaging intercourse only with the daughter of his father, who is not the daughter of his mother, or with the daughter of his mother, who is not the daughter of his father. From where do I derive a prohibition against engaging in intercourse with his sister, who is both the daughter of his father and the daughter of his mother? It's derived from verse, as the verse states, the nakedness of your daughter, of your father's wife, born of your father, she is your sister. Leviticus 18:11, indicating that engaging in intercourse with any sister is prohibited. The Bible continues, even if the verse had not stated that engaging in intercourse with one's sister with whom he has both parents in common is forbidden, I have proof for this from an authoritative inference. If it was prohibited for engaging in intercourse with the daughter of his mother, who is not the daughter of his father, and with the daughter of his father, who is not the daughter of his mother, it is not all the more so clearly prohibited from engaging in intercourse with his sister, who is both the daughter of his father and daughter of his mother. You learn from this that one does not derive a prohibition based on a fortiori inference. The Bible continues, from where is it derived that one does not administer punishment to those liable to receive lashes? What's the footnote? Chayave Malkuyos Minayan. Rashi and Tosfot understand this question not as a continuation of the previous discussion, but as a question concerning the matter discussed in the Mishnah, i.e. that conspiring witnesses who sought to have the accused executed are themselves executed only if the court reached a verdict sentencing the accused to death. From where then is it derived with regard to conspiring witnesses who sought to have the accused receive lashes, and they receive lashes only if the court reached a verdict that the accused is liable to receive lashes? Tosfot add explanation concerning the source that the same is true with regard to conspiring witnesses who sought to render another liable in a monetary payment. Rabbi Hanani claims these matters constitute a continuation of the previous matter, an attempt to prove that one does not administer punishment based on a derivation from an authoritative inference, neither with regard to the death penalty, nor with regard to lashes, nor with regard to exile. It explains why the Gemara did not ask the same question concerning monetary liability, as one administers financial punishment based on a derivation from an authoritative inference. Based on authoritative inference, and that the principle is not limited to capital punishment. The verse states a verbal analogy between the term wicked written with regard to those liable to be executed, and the term wicked written with regard to those liable to receive lashes. With regard to those liable to be executed is written, who is wicked and deserves to die, Numbers 35:3. With regard to those liable to receive lashes, it is written, and it shall be if the wicked is deserving of lashes, Deuteronomy 25:2. From where is it derived that one does not administer punishment to those liable to be exiled based on an a fortiori inference? It is derived by means of a Roman analogy between the term murder, written with regard to those who kill intentionally, see Numbers 35:21, and the term murder, written with regard to those who kill unwittingly, see Numbers 35:11. The conclusion is that one does not administer any punishment based on a fortiori inference. Appropriate to the dispute between the Sadducees and the sages is taught in the Braita. Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai, who's that? Yehuda ben Tabai was a member of one of the pairs of the Tanaim during the early Tanaic era, listed in the first chapter of Tractate Avot. His counterpart was Shimon ben Shattach. The Tanaim disagree as to whether Yehuda ben Tabai was the Nasi of the Sanhedrin or the deputy Nasi. Some claim that he filled the role of Nasi when Shimon ben Shattach was forced to flee from the king. In any event, it is apparent that Yehuda ben Tabai considered himself a disciple colleague of Shimon ben Shattach. No details are known about the life of Yehuda ben Tabai or where he lived. It's related, however, that when they sought to appoint him to the position on the Sanhedrin, he fled to Alexandria, and he acquiesced to assume the position only after seeing letters from Eretz beseeching him to return. It is stated in Jewish Talmud that he played a role in issuing the rabbinic decree that reconstituted metal vessels resumed the impurity that existed before they were broken. It says in the form of an oath, I will not see the future consolation. What does that mean? Erev ben Achama, a literal translation of a statement is, I will see the consolation. Although it is clear that the intention of Yehuda ben Tabai was to take an oath that he acted in the manner described, the formulation of the oath is difficult, as he should have stated explicitly, I will not see the future consolation. Rashi explains that Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai was speaking euphemistically preferring to say that he will experience redemption, although he meant that he would not see the redemption. Alternatively, Rashi explains that the statement is unrelated to the ultimate redemption. Rather, he is saying that he will be forced to accept condolences as his son will die if he did not kill a single conspiring witness. To eradicate this reasoning from the heart of the Sadducees, of the Jewish people. If I did not, as a member of the court, kill a single conspiring witness, in order to eradicate this reasoning from the heart of the Sadducees, he would say that conspiring witnesses are executed only if they are rendered conspiring witnesses after the accused would be killed. Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai killed the conspiring witness while the accused remained alive. Shimon ben Shattach. Who's that? Shimon ben Shattach, the Nasi of the Sanhedrin during the reign of Alexander Jannaeus. Shimon ben Shattach was one of the most significant leaders of the Jewish people and opponents of the oral law. He was a member of one of the pairs of Tanaim in the early Tanaic period. His counterpart was Yehuda ben Tabai. He was an authoritative leader who insisted on observing the minutiae of Torah law. He took vigorous action against anyone who sought to undermine the established halacha, whether the pressure to do so originated from the outside of the Jewish community or from various sectarian groups within the community. During his tenure as Nasi, witchcraft was eliminated from Eretz Yisrael through the enforcement of a series of decrees. He also revised and enhanced the authority of marriage contracts. Shimon ben Shattach was exacting with regard to judicial protocols. He averred 1:9. He refused to convict the man based on circumstantial evidence. The Gemara relates that he once saw an individual chasing another into a ruin. He followed and discovered the pursued the individual dying and his pursuer standing over him holding a bloody knife. Shimon ben Shattach ruled that a person could not be convicted without the testimony of witnesses. He said that God was a punishment from the guilty, and soon thereafter the pursuer was bitten by a snake and died, and that's in Sanhedrin 37b. His insistence on the preeminence of the Sanhedrin's jurisdiction led him to both Sabonia the king and insist that the latter treat the court with the same deference with which an ordinary citizen would treat it. Due to that confrontation and for a number of other reasons, he clashed with the Hasmonean king Alexander Jannaeus and was forced to go to hiding on several different occasions. On one of those occasions, he and Yehuda ben Tabai fled to Alexandria. As evident from the account in Tractate Barochat 48b, he would not compromise his principles, either in the face of threats nor to the demonstration of respect or flattery. People testified falsely against his son in an attempt to take revenge against him. He and his son submitted to the punishment so that the procedure of jurisprudence would not be compromised. Although his sister Salmoni Alexander, or Shalomzion in Hebrew, was the wife of Alexander Jannaeus, Shimon ben Shattach continued to practice his profession as a Tana. Before the king's death, he advised his wife to improve relations with the Pharisees after his demise. When she succeeded him, she appointed Shimon ben Shattach as an effective leader of the nation in charge of domestic affairs. Among his enjoyed contributions to the Jewish people was the establishment of universal primary education. In every respect, Shimon ben Shattach's tenure was considered a joyful period in the history of the Jewish people. Said to him, I will not see the consolation of the Jewish people if you did not shed thereby innocent blood. As the sages said, conspiring witnesses are not executed unless both of them are rendered conspiring witnesses. What's the footnote? The latter commentaries ask, a close reading of the words of Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai indicates that he was aware by Torah law that he should not have executed the witnesses, as he stated that he executed the witnesses in order to eradicate the reasoning from the hearts of the Sadducees. Evidently, the execution was in accordance with the rulings in Sanhedrin 46a, that the court may administer lashes and capital punishment, even when not required by Torah law, to erect a fence around the Torah. Why then did Shimon ben Shattach criticize his ruling by citing the halacha derived from the verse? Chazan Ezekiel explains that Shimon ben Shattach's criticism was as follows. The halacha was that conspiring witnesses are not executed unless they are both rendered conspiring witnesses derived from a verse, and was also disputed by the Sadducees. Therefore, although the executing witnesses served to function as countering the reasoning of the Sadducees with regard to the halacha of witnesses becoming conspiring witnesses as soon as the verdict is issued, it strengthened the reasoning of the Sadducees concerning their opinion that even one witness can be executed as conspiring witness, and they are not flogged unless both of them are rendered conspiring witnesses. In this case, only one was rendered a conspiring witness. Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai immediately accepted a commitment upon himself that he would issue a halachic ruling only when he was before Shimon ben Shattach to avoid mistakes in the future. And throughout all of Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai's days, he would tearfully prostrate himself on the grave of that witness whom he executed, to request forgiveness for all having done so, and his voice was heard from a distance, and the people thought that it was the voice of the executed witness that was heard. Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai said to them, "It is my voice, know that this is so, as tomorrow, i.e. sometime in the future, he, referring to himself, will die, and his voice will no longer be heard." Rav Aha, son of Rava, said to Rav Ashi, "The fact that the voice will cease after Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai's death is inconclusive, as proof that the voice is not that of the executed witness. Perhaps the reason that the voice will be of the executed person will no longer be heard is that he confronted Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai in trial before the heavenly court, abbreviating the need for crying from his grave. Alternatively, perhaps Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai appeased the executed witness in the world to come, and there is silence because no grievances remained." The Mishnah, it is written, "At the mouth of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses shall he who is to die be executed," in Deuteronomy 17:6. The question is, if the testimony is valid with 3 witnesses, why did the verse specify that it is valid with if the testimony is valid with 2 witnesses, why did the verse specify that it is valid with 3? Rather, it is to juxtapose and liken 3 to 2. Just as 3 witnesses can render 2 witnesses conspiring witnesses, so too 2 witnesses can render the 3 witnesses conspiring witnesses. And from where to derive that 2 witnesses can render even 100 witnesses conspiring witnesses? The fact that the testimony of the second set of witnesses is deemed more credible rather than that of the first set is a Torah edict. Even if the first set consisted of 100 witnesses and the 2 others came and testified that the first set of witnesses were with them elsewhere, they rendered the first set of witnesses conspiring witnesses. The Torah explains, why is the testimony of the second set deemed credible? It is because the testimony is about the first witnesses, not their testimony. It is as though they testified that the first set of witnesses committed murder by performing a prohibited labor on Shabbat. The first set of witnesses is not deemed credible to rebuke that testimony. The Rambam Sefer Shoftim Hilchot Eidut 18:3, Torah Nechosha Mishpat 38. It is derived from a verse, and the verse states 3 witnesses. Since the verse is obviously discussing witnesses, the term witnesses is superfluous, and they could have stated 2 or 3. The term witnesses teaches that 2 witnesses can render a set of witnesses conspiring witnesses irrespective of the number. Rabbi Shimon says that 3 witnesses are mentioned in the verse in order to teach, just as 2 witnesses who testify that a person is liable to execute are not killed for this testimony unless both of them are found to be conspiring witnesses, so too 3 witnesses who testify together are not killed unless all 3 of them are found to be conspiring witnesses. If 3 or even 100 witnesses testified as one set of witnesses, and some of them are rendered conspiring witnesses, they are punished only when all of them are rendered conspiring witnesses. Halacha, in the contrary opinion of Rabbi Shimon, as the discussion in the Gemara is conducted with regard to the opinion of Rambam Sefer Shoftim Hilchot Eidut 23, and gets the Mishnah there, Torah Mishpat 38. And from where is it derived that the same halacha applies even to 100 witnesses? It is derived from a verse, as the verse states, 3 witnesses. The superfluous term witnesses, what's it there? It teaches that all stages of witnesses who come to court as a single set of witnesses is that of one testimony to God to the halacha. Rabbi Akiva says the 3rd witness mentioned in this verse does not come for the judges to be lenient concerning him. Rather, its mention comes for the judges to be stringent concerning him and to render his halacha stated like that of these 2 witnesses who testified with him. One will claim that since the testimony of the 3rd witness is superfluous, the testimony of 2 other witnesses suffice, the 3rd witness and any of the witnesses, the first 2 should be exempt. Therefore, the verse teaches that since he testified with them and was rendering as being witness too, he too is executed. One can learn a moral from this halacha. And if the verse punished one who associates with transgressors with a punishment like the one received by the transgressors, even though his role in the transgression is ancillary, all the more so will God pay a reward to one who associates with those who perform a mitzvah, like the reward of those who perform the mitzvah themselves, even though his role in performing the mitzvah is ancillary. The Mishnah cites another derivation based on the juxtaposition of 2 or to 3. And just as with regard to 2 witnesses, if one of them is found to be a relative who is otherwise disqualified, the entire testimony is voided. as it is no longer the testimony of 2 witnesses. So too with regard to 3 witnesses who came to testify, as one said, if one of them is found to be a relative or is otherwise disqualified, the entire testimony is voided, even though 2 valid witnesses remain. From where is it derived that the same halacha applies even in the case of 100 witnesses? Derived from a verse, as the verse states, witnesses. That's the end of the Omid. And just do a quick conclusion. The essence of discussion in this daf revolves around the tension between administering justice swiftly and meticulous caution required in capital case. The conclusion that stands is the difficulty in reconciling Rabbi Yehuda's strict limitation on execution, that only the initial set of conspiring witnesses are punished, and only if their initial testimony is acted upon, with the straightforward text of the Mishnah. The Gemara leaves this point as a kasha, a difficulty, showing the depth and complexity in truly understanding the differing opinions on this grave matter of life and death, and how we apply the Torah law as he conspired to do to his brother, so it should be done to him. Thank you for listening and wish you all the best. Bye.